Welcome back to our second hour of World Crisis Radio. This is Webster Tarpley here in Washington, D.C. Now, as we noted in our first hour, the issue of Obama's non-qualification to be president, above and beyond all policy issues, there's simply this very basic constitutional question of natural-born citizen. That has made the biggest breakthrough so far this year, and it's almost a year since Phil Berg took this issue to the Supreme Court here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. We're just about 11 months into his campaign. This past week, when that got on the NBC Nightly News, the broadcast network news with Brian Williams, for various reasons, it has broken through. This is a tribute to the leadership of Phil Berg on this topic, and people know Phil Berg is on this program just about every week. He is a former Democratic candidate for governor-senator in Pennsylvania, former Democratic state committee man, former Democratic county chairman of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, lifetime member of the NAACP, and therefore somebody who, in addition to everything that he's done, breaks the mold in terms of the desire of certain reactionaries to claim that they own this issue, because they don't. Phil Berg owns the issue, and here he is. So, Phil, welcome, and can you give us an update?
Well, as you stated, it made the national news with Brian Williams. It's been on every night on Lou Dobbs on CNN. Every night he's discussed it on his TV show, and I believe most days on his radio show. MS and other commentators on CNN have been talking about it. Lou Dobbs is the most, I guess, in favor of just produce the birth certificate already. Other commentators are knocking it. MSNBC is constantly knocking it. Chris Matthews is waving this document around, saying this is his birth certificate. Well, I wish they would get real. It's not his birth certificate. They keep waving around a document which they put on the website, the campaign website, over a year ago, in June of 2008, a certification of live birth. And it's been, first off, at the bottom it says, if it has been altered, it's invalid. It's been altered. It's not a birth certificate. The document put up has been altered. But we're now getting a lot of attention to this, and I think for a couple reasons. One, well, everyone, I believe, saw, it's been now posted on the YouTube from Congressman Cassell from Delaware. He had a meeting a town hall meeting on June 30th, 2009. A woman stood up and said, here's my birth certificate. Basically, where's the birth certificate of the president? Castle said that, well, he has been, legitimate, he's a legitimate president born in the United States, and the whole crowd booed, enormous booing, and since then it has made its the story bigger out there. I think as Obama is dropping in the polls, which he is, because people are realizing that he's, I guess, full of a lot of hot air on what he's talking about. He talks out of both sides of his mouth. They're now looking at the issue as, they're coming around and looking at everything, and people are looking at the issue that we have out there is he a legitimate president? And the answer is no. So my case is we just filed this past week a response. I filed a motion for reconsideration on the sealed case, which is now unsealed, and the government filed a response denying conflict of interest. I don't know how you can deny conflict of interest because Eric Holder, who's the Attorney General of the United States, and he's head of, obviously, of the Attorney General's office, also of the Department of Justice, and he's the chief legal advisor, so he advises the president. Well, I'm stating there's a conflict of interest. How can he and his staff, but it basically rolls back to him, make a decision to prosecute Barack Obama without being a conflict of interest? Eric Holder was on the campaign staff of Obama, and in December of 2008, he was on the committee to select the vice president. I guess that would have been 2008 or 2007 to select the vice president.
2008.
And then he was hired. Then he was hired to become the Attorney General. So if that's not a blatant conflict of interest, and I'm asking that he either step down, give the case to me to prosecute, which they're allowed to do as I would be called a relator in that case, or have a special prosecutor appointed either to handle the prosecution and or to review the documents to see if the case should be pursued. This is a case where I have alleged that Obama, his real name is Barry Soetoro, and he was ineligible to serve because he's an illegal alien. He's ineligible to serve as a U.S. Senator for 3.5 years from Illinois. Therefore, the salary and benefits should be returned to the Treasury, and that's about over $1 million. I filed it under what's called the False Claims Act, or QUITAM, Q-U-I-T-A-M, and that's usually done in Medicaid or Medicare fraud. If one of your listeners knows their neighbor believes their neighbor is committing a fraud, they would file an action against their neighbor, naming themselves as what's called relator, filing it on behalf of themselves and the United States government. The neighbor is not served, so Obama has not been served. He's obviously aware of this case, but the neighbor is not served. It gives the government 60 days to review the case to decide if they're going to pursue it, or they're going to turn it over to you who filed it, the relator, or if they're going to dismiss the case. They have dismissed very few cases like this, but here they're trying to dismiss this case for obvious reasons. You know, it's conflict of interest. They're going to have to make a decision against their boss, and then that's not, it's just not going to happen. So
it's an outright scandal because, in addition to the reality of conflict of interest, there's an overwhelming appearance of conflict of interest. So, we had a special prosecutor based on Whitewater Gate, who then turned to Monica Lewinsky, and this turned out to be one big nothing. Right. But here, there's a real issue. So
what I'm doing is I'm pursuing this, and I've now requested a hearing. The other hearing, the first hearing in this case, was a sealed case, so the hearing was sealed. But now that the case is not sealed, the hearing on this next part should be a public hearing. It should occur sometime in the next month. I will advise you, so you can advise your listeners, because I would like to see if we can get a packed courthouse in there, a packed courtroom on my side of this case, because I represent the 305 million people in this country who deserve to know the truth. Our other case, the standing issue case, has been given a date for hearing in October of this year, October of 2009, for argument. And the Hollister case, we're just waiting for a briefing schedule from the D.C. Court of Appeals. But I'm getting more and more phone calls from, I'm a regular on your show, and I appreciate it. I've been getting more calls from other shows. I've been on probably 5 shows this week. It's picking up. Our site is obamacrimes.com, OBAMACRIMES.com. We ask people to go there to spread it to their friends, neighbors, associates. Also, if they can make a contribution, we're going to try to establish a fund here to create new billboards across the country. Someone's putting billboards up saying, "Where's your birth certificate?" And I submit anyone that doesn't know about this topic, that's not going to do them any good. We're going to have very positive billboards. Our billboards are going to say, "Obama, where's your birth certificate?" So,
how much does a billboard cost?
Well, one billboard could cost $3,000 for a month, depending on the location of it. In a big city versus other places can be a lot cheaper. Or if there's anyone out there that has a billboard and wants to donate to us, we would appreciate that. If any of your listeners know where billboard locations, know someone that could try to negotiate. Some of the big companies in the country have decided they're not going to post any signs like this, which just shows they're playing favorites with the president because they don't want any repercussions. But this issue is so important. We are in a financial dilemma, and we're in a constitutional crisis, and we need to determine once and for all, is he a legitimate president, which I don't believe he is, and if not, he should be removed legally from office.
And it's up to him. Again, I watched all of these characters. MSNBC essentially went bonkers for one full day, and they had it on 3 times. They basically, every program was wall-to-wall birth certificate, and they all claim that he has released something, which is, as you say, it's an abstract, and it's a forgery of an abstract, and we want to see the full detailed vault copy that has everything. It has to have signatures on it. It's the thing that was typed up essentially in the hospital at the time and filed very, very soon after. And that stuff in the newspaper means nothing because that's just a notice that's posted, right? It means we had a kid. Doesn't say where.
Right.
Thank you, Phil.
My pleasure.
WCR.com, and we'll be seeing you next week and every week until this is resolved.